Hi everyone, I'm going to talk through how to do a cannula change for carriage, for Keris. The first thing that you need to do is make sure you've got everything ready. So you need one new cartridge, one new syringe, they come together in the same box, one new cannula, that comes in a separate box, insulin, which is in a little glass vial, and this little card thing that helps pop out the old cartridge. So the first thing that you would need to have done is this part here will be attached to Keris's butt. So before you do anything, before taking it off Keris, you need to unlock the pump, say press in 1, 2, 3, and then you go to options, and it would say stop insulin. So you press stop insulin. Once you've confirmed that, you literally take the cannula, so you would squeeze the sides of it, and then slide it out of the infusion set that's on your bum. Once you've got that, and you're downstairs and you've got all of your stuff ready, you need to go into options again. So be options, press load. On there, you've got another set of instructions on there. So the first one you press is change cartridge. And it'll say, make sure the infusion set is disconnected from your body. Are you ready to continue? Yes, so you blue tick. And it'll say preparing for cartridge. Then on the screen, you'll have that message which says remove the cartridge and install a filled cartridge. Tap the unlock item when completed. So the next step is basically taking out the old cartridge. So you use this little card here. There's a little notch on the back of the pump. You put that into there and then press kind of quite firmly away from you, and that'll pop the old cartridge out. You can leave this pump kind of out of the way for now because you don't need it for the next few steps. Now, I think it's always really important to kind of tidy up as you're going along because there's lots of fiddly bits everywhere, so you're never going to use that again, so that can now go into the bin. So got rid of the old one. The next step basically is to fill up a new cartridge. Okay, so to do that, your first step is to take out the syringe. It comes in two parts. There's a needle part there, and a syringe part. So the needle sits on the end, so push it down and twist at the same time. So you pop it on and then twist it in. It only goes around about 2 times, okay? So pop it on, twist it into place. That's your syringe ready. Then you need to open up your cartridge. So that's your new cartridge that you're going to use. Before you do anything with that, take the lid off your syringe so the needle's exposed, and then you just need to give it a couple of pumps through just to clear the air out of it. Okay, once you've done that, it's time to put the insulin into the syringe. So pop it in, try to go as close to the middle of the white spot on the top of the bottle as you can. So pop that in there. Apologies. You need to pull it back to 3 on there first. I'm not sure how well you can see that on it's see-through, but you pull it back to 3. Pop the needle into the white spot, and then tip it upside down like that, and push all the air out of the syringe into the bottle, and then just let it backfill. Now there's not much insulin left in this bottle, so it won't backfill all the way, but it's meant to create less bubbles in the syringe. So the pump will beep at you, but that's just to say that it's been disconnected for 15 minutes don't worry about that, okay? So it's stop backfilling, so I'm just going to draw it back out until you hit 3 units on there, okay? And you can take the syringe out of the insulin bottle. Now the next step is basically checking for any bubbles and removing any bubbles. So you probably won't be able to see it on there, but I've got some bubbles down the bottom on the black part there. So what I normally use is a piece of cutlery. And if you hold it down at the bottom and just give it a few taps, that should move all the bubbles up to the top, okay? And then you basically just give it a few squirts to clear those bubbles out of the way. And when you're happy that you've got like a clear line of insulin coming out of the end of the needle, then it's good to go. So there you go. So that's good to go on that one. Next step is to start using the cartridge. So on the cartridge there, you can see there's a little white dot, and that's where the insulin goes into, okay? So you've got to try and put the needle as close to the center of that white dot as possible. Now, when you press down, see that there, I didn't hit the spot. When you press down, it should hit a metal plate about half the depth of a needle. And this one is not doing it. Knew this would happen. Right. There we go. Right, hit it now. So on there, when it's about half the depth of the needle down, you'll feel it. It's a little metal plate that's inside it that it hits. And then you basically have to draw out the bubbles that are inside the cartridge. So I hold the bottom of the cartridge, I hold the top part there and just use my thumb to kind of lift that out, and you'll probably see some biggish bubbles. So I'll do that like 2 or 3 times just to check there's no bubbles in there. Then you take the needle out and you repeat the process that you just did in terms of getting rid of those bubbles. So there's quite a few bubbles normally come out of the cartridge. You tap them to the top. Now the bubbles themselves, it's not this injection isn't going intravenous, so it's not dangerous in the sense that it would harm Keris, but if there were bubbles when we put this into the cartridge, what would happen is the line of insulin going into it would get blocked, so basically she just wouldn't get the insulin, so it would cause it to go really high. So once you're happy, you've tapped the bubbles to the top, do the same again. You want to squirt it out until you're happy. There we are. And we go again, so I can still see some bubbles up there. Give it a few more taps. There we go, that's a good clear line of insulin coming out of the end of the syringe, okay? Then you're going to find the center of that white spot again, which is quite tricky on this one. There you go, found that again, that's on there, and then you're going to basically inject the insulin into the cartridge. So it's reasonably firm sometimes, so don't be alarmed if that happens, but it's not a huge amount of force. Now, if it's really quiet when you're doing it, you'll probably hear like the cogs turning inside the cartridge when the insulin's going in. It makes a little crackling sound. Now that there is the cartridge ready to go. So put that to one side. At this point, it's a good opportunity to tidy up a little bit because there's lots of stuff you now don't need anymore. So I put the cover back on the needle and then take that back apart, okay? So the needle part can go in the sharps bin, and then I put the other in the plastic recycling. So put that away, get rid of the wrapping. I'll put the insulin back in the pot and the file card away. And then also unpackage this and get rid of the rubbish. So there's a little red stripe on there. Peel down the red stripe and take off the plastic layer. Then there's a little paper cover on the bottom. Peel that down, take that off, okay? I'll leave that alone then for now. I'm just gonna get rid of all my rubbish basically, so I've got a clear workspace with nothing in my way. So basically the three things you're left with are the new filled cartridge, the pump, which has beeped at me again to say it's been too long without a pump on, but don't panic, that's nothing to worry about, don't rush, just you're better off taking your time doing this part. The next step then is to put if you remember on the screen, it'll say, you'll have to unlock the screen again, so it says 1, 2, 3. It says there, remove the cartridge and install a filled cartridge. Tap the unlock item when completed. So there's a little lock button there, so you just tap that once you put the cartridge in. Now that the pump has got its case on, there's basically only one way that it'll allow it to go in, okay? So you slide it in down the end, and then it's quite a firm click, okay? You've got to press it in quite firmly, and you shouldn't see any gaps then around there, okay? So once that's in place, you can tap that unlock item on the screen, the blue one there. So tap that, and it'll ask, is the cartridge installed? Press yes with a blue tick, and it'll have that screen on there. It'll say detecting cartridge, and it can take a couple of seconds for that to register. It'll go up to 40, then 70, and then 100%, if I've done it correctly. There we go, cartridge changed. So the next screen then reads, make sure the set is disconnected from your body and securely connect the tubing to your cartridge. On the next screen, you will fill your tubing with insulin. Okay, so before I press OK on that, I'm going to get the actual cannula and tubing ready. Okay, so there's a little plastic lid. Take the plastic lid off. Okay, you're going to use that there in a second, so I'll leave that there. Then this is the tubing. Okay. So it's hooked in by there, so you just got to very lightly press down and it'll unhook it, and then just carefully unwind the tubing from inside the cannula, okay? Now, there's a little blue cover on the needle, so I lightly press down either side of it on the white paper, pull the little blue cover off and put that to one side, and then very gently and carefully take the little sticky, so the little thing that's covering the sticky plaster, okay? And you do need to be careful doing this bit because I've done it before too quickly and it's kind of pulled the cannula out and you kind of had to start again, which is a bit annoying. So that's the cannula in there. That's the little needle that'll go into a butt with the cannula that feeds the insulin in. So but the next step is connecting the end of that tubing up to the pump. Okay, so there's two connector parts there, all right? So I'll move it back there actually so you can see what I'm doing. So again, that there, you pop it in, and it's a light push and a twist at the same time, and that doesn't really go very far at all. It's like one turn, okay? It doesn't close the gap entirely between the two parts, so don't be alarmed if that's not exactly together. It's a light push. Okay, don't wrench it too tight because you'll probably break the connection, all right? So that's the cartridge connected. And then if you go back to that screen on there, so you'll have to disconnect again, make sure it's disconnected from your body and securely connect the tube into your cartridge. You can press OK now. And that screen will come up, okay? It's fill tubing, and basically you have to press start on there. And then once you press start, it'll say start in fill. So what this is doing is basically filling this tube with insulin ready to go with Kera, so it's not just full of air. So what I do is hold the pump slightly higher up than you hold the cannula. Okay, so I hold the cannula with one hand and I hold it above the little plastic tray, because what you're looking for is drops of insulin coming out of the end of the needle, and you want to see 3 drops of insulin come out just to know that the insulin's gone fully through the tubing. So that normally happens at around about 13 units on the screen. So at the moment it's showing 6.9, okay? So it's about 13. You can, if you've got the kind of right colour behind the tubing, you can see the insulin working its way through the tube. It goes through in little spurts. So it's on 11.3 now. I can see the first drop coming out. There you go, that's 1 drop. There's 2 drops, and that's 3 drops. So once you're happy you've had 3 drops, you press stop on the screen, the red stop, and it'll say stop in fill, and it'll do that percentage bar again. There we go. So then it says, if you see drops at the end of the tubing, it means needle, press done. If no insulin drops are noticed, press fill to continue filling. And it'll tell you the amount filled, which is 14.2 units on there. Now, if no drops have come out, basically something's gone wrong. So you've got to kind of troubleshoot then what has happened, and it'll ask you to basically keep filling until you see those drops come out, okay? So once you're happy with that, you press done. And basically the next step is to actually fit the cannula to Keris, which is the worst part, to be honest with you. So I'm going to pause the video now, move upstairs, find Keris, and then go from there.